Team, family, squadron. So excited to be with you for yet another episode of The Landing Pad. Now today is different. Today, I'm feeling a little extra spice in the air.
There's something about the Rookery today.
Yeah, there is something about the Rookery Studios today that's got me a little on edge. We've got Warrior, two-time Golden Door winner, one of the best leaders, managers in the industry, Brock Grieve, here to shed his wealth of knowledge on pest control and leadership. I can't wait to get into it. But for right now, welcome out to yet another episode of The Landing Pad.
Brock Grieve, welcome to the Landing Pad.
Fired up to be here.
It's good to have Brock, one of the OGs of the, if you know the old HTR days, one of the OGs of the OGs. We go back a long time. We go back a lot of years.
Yeah.
Good old.
What's crazy, dude, is I'm older than you were when we first met.
Yeah, I was 25.
Don't know how you wrapped me into this for so long.
I'm like 32. I'm getting up there. Brock, we are so stoked to have you on. We are going to get right into it. But before we do, let's get into some grit news. Mm-hmm. So when this drops, this will already, like I said, always be old news. But we just had the casino night on Monday. It was a vibe.
Always is.
Always is. I was sitting at the craps table with Huey's, and it was life-changing.
Yeah, throwing make-believe money out there. It's just a good time.
It's a great time. Banks needs new shoes. I was throwing the dice, dude. And I did all right until I threw that 7. But, hey, it was a great time. Those that were there, hopefully you showed up and had a good time. Until next year, Casino Night 2024. Great day. Next up, this is actually one, obviously we've got the Grail Jam coming up, but this is one that's going to be happening when this drops on the Friday. Zach Seeger's getting married on the 3rd to Sweet Kennedy. That is going to be a wedding for the ages. So I don't know if it's open invite, but show up. Have some time. Say what up to the guy. So, and yours truly is actually going to be doing the ring ceremony. So I need to get tips from you, East, because you did Cody's ring ceremony. So I don't know what day that is. That one's for sure not open to the public. So
shout out Christian Ministry. .org.
So I need to get licensed.
Overnight certificates, man.
I need to get it. I don't think I'm marrying anybody, but I probably should still go through the motions. Okay. Now, Easton, take us up on this one, please.
Yeah. If you know what time it is.
You know.
We just finished up the Super Bowl. One of the best Super Bowls that I've seen in recent memory, for sure. Maybe my favorite Super Bowl since Tom tragically lost to Eli with the helmet catch and David Tyree. But anyways, the Super Bowl is unreal. I went down, Drew, Calvin, Jameson, myself, all went down to the Super Bowl and had a riot. But for those of you who are avid and regular listeners of the Landing Pad, you'll know that G Money Moolah and I absolutely cashed.
Cash City.
We missed the color of the Gatorade. But other than that, I mean, KC money line, check. Travis Kelce anytime, check. Jalen Hurts anytime, check.
Tails
on the coin toss, check.
What else was that? I mean, we almost said Patrick Mahomes MVP, check.
I drilled one at the game just last minute. I heard a whisper, caught it in the air.
Brought it in.
And brought it right in. I guess not just the first touchdown score, Jalen Hurts, but second touchdown score, Travis Kelce. One bet. I think it was 16-1 or something like that. I mean, God. It was an aggressive hit for sure. Yeah, so anyways, we crushed. And our guy Brock did well too.
That's right. Made it all on a beautifully cooked up 4-leg parlay. Right. Paid plus 400. It was awesome.
I'm not gonna lie. When I was one of the few that were freaking out at the end of the game when you were there live, East. Everybody else was waiting to see the color of the Gatorade, but nobody could see because they missed it on TV. So everyone on Twitter was blowing up trying to find out what color the Gatorade was. It was tragic.
Purple haze came out of left field at plus 800.
800.
I should have known. Call me crazy. I'm not just making this up. I was walking through the stadium and there was a part of me that thought to myself, is it really going to be lemon lime? I don't know anymore. I feel like it's going to be something exotic, like the jalapeno cucumber flavor.
Or purple rain.
Or purple haze. Lo and behold.
Purple haze is what it was.
That had to be rigged.
So I don't know what my record was on the year. I was definitely not positive, but the Super Bowl saved me like it always does. Maybe I'll just wait for all my bets for the Super Bowl every year because I hit every year.
Strategic.
2 for 2. I don't lose. Moving on. Rest in peace to the Super Bowl. If you listen to the last podcast, it's so funny. Mark did an edit of it just being like us talking about it ending, and it's like just the saddest song. So go back and listen to that. Okay. Your and my favorite part of the podcast now. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle in. We've got some hot takes.
Why is it so hot?
Okay, let's get started. Brock, your top 10. Raw, starting 10, ending at 1. Go.
Oh, I hate this.
Everybody does.
I hate listening to it, and I also hate giving it. There's so many names on here that should be here. Okay, so number 10, name that a lot of people don't know, but I know that this is going to happen. Colton Remond?
One of the two.
One of the two. New guy coming back into the pest control industry. Sold 700 accounts a couple years ago at a different company.
Wow.
Left the industry to go try solar for a couple years, is coming back. So he's number 10. He's working with me. We'll be in office.
Welcome back to the fold.
We love it. We love it. Okay.
Fold.
Number 9, Zach Kinzel. Number 8, Caleb Grondell. Number 7, Alec Withers. Number 6, Corbin Hansen. 5, Bennett. 4, Chuck. 3, Cody. 2, Seeger. And then I'll take number 1.
Oh, I love that.
I love to see it. It's already starting.
Love that.
First top 10 that doesn't have Seeger
At number
1. It's crazy.
Oh, I love that. No, and if there's somebody that actually believes it, it's Brock.
Oh, for sure. It's interesting because even last year when it was, I feel like Drew coming off of 2 back-to-back $1 million summers, we still had people come on the landing pad last year. And I think a fair amount of people didn't put Drew at 1. So it's just been interesting. He made a good point. It's so interesting to just see that, like, oh, it's just de facto Seeger. And, like, for sure has a way good shot. But
I mean, he earned it. He did, what, 100K in a week? Like, how do you bet against that, right?
I suppose that's a good week.
It was a decent week. Okay, it was a decent week. No, I love that top 10. I think that is going to be different. I think that is going to ruffle some feathers. And I love that you put our boy, the young blood Hansen boy, Corbin, 6. That'll ruffle some feathers.
Dude, it's he's so
on his name just then.
No, I knew it was Hansen. Then it was James, Jerem, Drew, and like Corbin is the last one.
That's funny.
Corbin.
Yeah, the youngest, best rookie to ever do it. Well, that's a great top 10. Okay, now let's get into the next portion. And this is a question, Brock. You've now done 2 Golden Doors. You are a very reputable source. So many people that we've had on, we've asked them how many Golden Doors we think the company's going to have this next year. Last year, we had 14 Golden Doors, 13 people earned them. This year, the number that is getting passed around that is like locked in is 20. Over under 20 Golden Doors at the Grip.
Sharp line. Especially because, like, I know almost all the Rippers, lots of these guys that, I mean, talent-wise, capability-wise, I should say over. I think the sad thing is that I probably, if I had to put money on it, is I probably would take the under.
Wow.
And it's not for lack of talent. I just remember, 2 years ago when the company started, and one of our just huge points that we wanted to accomplish was having a ton of Golden Doors. And I mean, I'll tell you, dude, there was like you couldn't go to the office without feeling like an energy, right? Like all the trainings were packed with reps who are like, maybe sold 120 accounts the year before. And they're like, I'm getting a Golden Door. And dude, they were putting in the work that you would expect to see. So I don't think it's a lack of talent, but the reason I take the under is, right, it's like there's been tons of these vet trainings where like there's empty chairs, like the number of like people I'm not getting hit up for like one-on-ones. And I know like Zach and Cody and a lot of these other guys, like we're just not like, I don't think I've like seen more than 20 people. And then also you take into account, right, like a good handful of our Golden Doors last year are not going to be able to knock anymore.
Yeah.
So sad to say, I think I would probably have to take the under, even though I know that we're capable of more.
What if you had to put a number on it? What do you genuinely think?
Oh, it's so sharp. I mean, you subtract a few, add a couple, right? It's like, I think it could be right around like 16, 17.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
No, it's something to think about. Like, getting a golden door, and I learned this more with Caleb, right? When he was on the podcast. Run that one back if you haven't, or just listen to it if you haven't. Dude, it takes, and same with Zach Kinzel, like, to get a golden door, it is so hard. It is so hard. A lot of people I know have the talent for it, but it is just the decision that, like, come hell or high water, I will stay out as long as I need to stay out. I will do whatever I have to do. And yeah, to your point, dude, I don't know if there are 20 people. 20 is a lot.
That's a lot.
20 is a ton.
It's a whole office.
So yeah, a whole office of golden doors. And it's like, I don't know if we have 20 people that are actually, like, when the rubber hits the road, willing to knock until 10 p.m. every night. Willing to knock all day Saturday.
Knock until Thanksgiving, if that's what it's like.
Yeah.
That's where I'd probably lean slightly under as well, like just barely.
Yeah.
Just because I just haven't seen in the office, as far as approach goes, like you couldn't go anywhere in the office without seeing loose screws all over the floor 2 years ago. Just like you had to wear closed toe shoes, whole thing.
You had to. It's except
there was
on
just
Legos.
these loose screws everywhere 2 years ago. And I think if we are going to have to do 20, I think the crazy's got to come back in a big way.
So like I said, I got some texts from people during the Caleb podcast, and they're like, hey, count me in. If that was you, I should be seeing you in the office a lot more. You should be DMing Brock, Seeger, Cody, Cal, all the guys.
Going on the blitzes, right? Like, dude, it's getting out there as early as you can. Like, that's the real things that you look for.
And we're going to talk about what it actually takes to get a golden door in this podcast quite a bit. But yeah, I agree with you. Okay.
Some rapid fires. Some verses. People love these prop bets. Start off with our guy Daniel Hansen, the man from Portland, versus a salty grit guy at this point. Our guy Cash. Who do you have, Daniel Hansen or Cash?
Oh, I think I'm gonna go with Daniel,
the new up and comer. It's not really new. He's kind of salty, but new with us.
Yeah, I mean, Cash is the guy. He was over at my house last night, but
yeah.
Daniel Hansen has ripped. First year selling past at like $250K in like 2 months.
Yeah. It's
a lot.
This is the thing, right? When I was making this, I know Cash has the potential to do it, right? Like, I think last year, him running his own team, like him doing it, like, I think it took a lot out of him. The guy is so talented when he wants something. I think Cash wants it this year, so I'm going to go Cash. But Daniel could run away with it if Cash doesn't decide that he wants it. So 2 Daniel, 1 Cash. All right, next up,
I think I have a feeling I know which way Brock's going to go on this one. We've got B-Doug, old faithful. As faithful as the day is long. B-Doug and up-and-comer, upstart, Britton Hemmert.
Oh yeah, B-Doug. Yeah, 100%. He's figured, like, dude, this guy, right? I work with B-Doug every day, and there's not a person at the Grit who I love more. Like, this guy has just been on a journey to find, like, himself and, like, what pushes him, and he knows how to get to the next level. And something that he was talking about this week even was like, dude, I'm just going to put in the effort of a Golden Door winner and not pin myself down and cripple myself with, like, goals or craziness. Like, he's just like, dude, if I just go out and I just put in the consistent effort that I need to, I'm going to have the results. And I 100% believe that that's, like, going to happen. And yeah, I believe in, that's a huge bet.
You believe in old B-Doug?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if he's got a nickname outside of B-Doug yet, but B-Doug is the Zen master. B-Doug has found Zen, dude.
He has. It's been a
his
journey
chakras
too.
are aligned. He's
Yes.
got his chi. Yeah, I'm B-Doug. I love Britton. Great, a huge rookie year. But just the belief, the Zen, it's like Master Uguay out there selling pest control.
Yep.
He has, dude. He has found himself.
Figured it out.
Thing is, Britton is so talented, though. Britton is so good.
Yeah,
Rookie, 200K.
He could go out and sell 500K, and I wouldn't
Yeah.
be like that shocked.
Yeah.
So this is just tough.
I gotta go B-Doug. I gotta go B-Doug too.
He's so due. He's so ready.
He's due.
He's so ready. He's more ready than he's ever been.
All right, last up.
Last one. We've got our guy, Tyson Fotheringham, huge first year at the Grit, landing pad guest, versus one of my dogs, Drew Wood. Who do you got?
Tyson for sure. That guy's lost some screws. Like you talk about screws loose. He's actually one that I'll put my whole back end that he's going to get a golden door or do more. He could get a golden door early in the summer and finish at 700K. Like he's so good.
He is good.
Yeah. I mean, my bias and I mean, these are both dogs, but I gotta go with Drew Wood. For years, he's just, and I think Brock will talk about this. He's been slowly ramping. Well, not even slowly. I mean, he sold just under 300K as a rookie. Like he's really good. He's really good at his job.
Yeah.
This last year again, 360K and significantly less time knocking. I think he's ready to make the jump. I think Drew goes and does right around 500, 600, 700K. I think he's going to sell a lot.
I got to go with Tyson.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And that's fair.
Tyson, he's coming out of the gate hot. Drew, I don't know. These are always so freaking hard, but I don't know.
All right, Andrew.
Yeah, all right.
Don't let me down.
Let's go. All right. Well, let's get into it. Now time to get into the meat and potatoes of the episode. But first, a word from, no, just kidding. We've got the background of Brock Grieve. I'm going to go rapid fire through. He's now done 5 years. Well, you've now done 5 years. I'm just going to go over the number of accounts you sold and how much revenue you produced. Year one, good old Chicago. Half summer, sold 106 accounts, 50K in rev. Great summer. Made some cheddar. Got the job done. Year two, jumped to 400, did 240K. Year three, 530, 371K. Year four, this is when you had your first golden door, sold 1,007, did 770K. And that was in Portland. This last year, running your dogs in a good old Chi-Town, 610, selling 651K with a 1,068 average contract value for pest control.
Yeah.
That's great.
Gen Pest.
So Easton, can you break us down? Maybe just take this first question, but yes, we are sitting down with a guy that has done it, right? Has done it, and that's the kind of the questions are aligned with just growing and leveling up, because I think nobody has done it. I don't know if there's a better example than somebody taking this from a job that's just like, yeah, I'm going to come sell for a half summer, go boat. That was the reason why you didn't finish second summer. You wanted to go boat.
Yeah.
And I was like, this guy's going to be good. So I'm not going to burn the ship and be like, no, bro, you got to stay. So it was just half summer. You went home, you boated, you had a good time. And then obviously from that point to where you are now, those are
golden doors and buying boats.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's a hell of a jump.
Exactly. So you should take it away.
So the question that I want to ask is this. I feel like you, more than most people, have really latched onto the idea of execution creates opportunity. And like year after year, you've executed, and so you just have more opportunities than most people in the industry. So given like the Brock Grieve ascent over the last 3 years, like what is the roadmap? What does that look like for you? Execution creates opportunity year after year after year.
Yeah, I think like in this job, the roadmap is the same for everyone, or at least pretty similar, right? It's like you got to start somewhere, and then you just build upon that, right? So I guess what the roadmap looks like, right? You start your rookie year and you put in as much effort as you can. You try to learn the skill, and that's just year one, right? You don't think about it as a year to year thing. Like the people who really execute and have the opportunity are people who look at it as like not like I want to knock doors forever thing, but as like a cool, like it's I'm going to do this because it just makes sense type thing. And
more of a 3 to 5 year kind of thing.
Sure. Maybe even without a time limit. Maybe it's like, yeah, dude, I'm just going to execute, right? I'm just going to take it and I'm just going to execute. So, right. And then it's like, the second year you go out and you just pick up where you left off skill wise. And also at least at the grit, right? Like the leadership, just pushes you to like believe in yourself and believe that you can like build a business. And so like the evolution goes from like, okay, cool, I'm going to try summer sales to, okay, I'm like decent at summer sales, but it's still like casual, right? But then like what happens after a couple of years is you grow up and like you have to start looking at your life and you got to start making some like big boy decisions, right? It's like, a lot of us, like, most of the nation graduates college at like, 22, like most of us are like 24, 25 with our missions. So it's like, you're like an adult and you got to start making adult decisions. And so it's like, cool. Like you go from rookie kind of like, you're seeing how it goes to becoming a casual rep. And in that process, you have big days and big weeks. And just like when you want a customer to say yes, you got to soft close them along the way. Well, those little specks of success become the soft closes for you, like realizing like what you can become. And so, right, for me, it was like, cool, 400 account summer, then 530 the next year. And then it's like, well, now I'm like an adult, I'm married. Like I've been good at this. And obviously we all know what that can turn into, right? If you're good at this, like how much money you can make, what opportunity that opens up. And so, right, if you treat that opportunity then at that point seriously, right? And if you're like, okay, cool, I've sold 250K, I've sold, right, 350K. And then you treat that as what it really is, which means like you've just got it in you at that point to absolutely crush, right? And so for me, right, it's like, and for anybody in that case, if you treat that opportunity seriously, which you should, it's the best opportunity I think for anybody in the nation, right? It's like, I'll take this to my grave. I don't think there's a better job opportunity for young people than summer sales and specifically grit marketing. But it's like, cool. So at that point you go from, cool, now I know I have this in me, to, okay, let's let out the beast. And you just burn your bridges and you get to the point where you're just willing to sacrifice almost anything. And it's because you just want to like see what you can do. So cool. So then, right, there's the 1,000 account summer, first time like really kind of like starting to lead teams. And, I was in all the right things aligned. And then it's like, cool. Then you all of a sudden have to go from elite sales rep to great sales, or whatever that, right? Casual sales rep to like elite sales rep to, well, now all of a sudden you have like people in your stewardship. And I think previously, right, when I had my 1,000 account summer, it was more about like maybe the clout, like I want to be seen as a leader. Maybe it was a little bit more selfishly, but then it gets to the point where like, well, now it's like, I have to wake up every morning and give a training to all these rookies who are just struggling and they're like relying on me. And now all of a sudden you have this like love for the people that you've brought in. And so you have to then evolve from sales rep to leader, which is, the most precious title that you can truly have. And so it's like, okay, cool. Now I got to know how to inspire, organize, plan, teach, and build up people who can go out and do it. And so, and then you get there and then you can continue to level up and maybe be the best rep in the industry, maybe run a huge region, like whatever it is, right? It's like, but I believe that everybody that does join has a pretty similar roadmap where it goes from trying it out to casual to then like realizing that you can be good at this, which almost everybody can be, to then it's like, then you have to make the choice of, cool, like who do I want to be? Yep. Is this what I want? And then boom, if you execute and you take that, then
because I want to pause you there because what I loved is, dude, once you determine, and I've talked about this on the podcast, like once you hit like 200K, 300K, like if you feel like, or you fall into the same, pattern of doing 200K every single year, like at that point, like I can truthfully, it's just a choice. Like it is just a choice. Like, oh, am I going to just be a casual rep and do this like this? And it's like for the longest time, it totally depends on who you're surrounded by and what you actually want to get out of the job. But I think when somebody actually has to decide like, okay, am I going to be casual or am I going to be great? The fact of the matter is like a lot of people are kind of just okay with being casual. And it's not a bad thing either. Like if you just sell 200K and you got your, 3-4 guys every single year, you're making
like $100,000.
It's like, that's great. That's great. And that's great for you. But there does come that point where you kind of got to ask yourself, look in the mirror and say, okay, am I okay with being casual, which is totally fine if you are, or do I actually want to level up and be great? And Brock, a little follow-up for that. What was like maybe the tipping point for you where you were like, Okay. I mean, you never really had that though. I'm like looking at your numbers. You did like 400, 500. I guess the big jump was obviously 500 to 1,000. But like, what inside of you was like, was that your in the mirror moment where you're like, all right, I got to be great now? Or how did that happen?
And I don't think the specific number is what determines your greatness.
No.
It's your ability to get like, it's your ability to just get out of yourself what you can, right? Like squeeze every drop out of you, whatever that number is, whether it's 200 accounts or 1,000 accounts or XYZ, right? So I think, at least for me, it got to the point where it's like, cool. Like I know that I'm capable of more. And so it's almost like a character thing, like a pride thing, like a who am I type thing. Like, am I the guy who's gonna leave something on the table, right? Is that like the type of person that I am? Because like, and as corny as sales is, right? It's like, it's a reflection of your whole life, right? It's like, cool. If I know I can go out and I can do 1,000, but I don't do it because it's a choice, then how does that reflect on my character, right? And like, those that know me closely know like the way that I was raised, right? My dad always had just such high expectations for me. And it was the best thing ever because like my expectations for myself were way lower, but his expectations were so high, and it always helped me to like get the most out of myself. And I just became used to like being the best that I could with everything, right? Like on my mission, like I didn't leave anything on the table, right? Like when I played sports, like when I do things that I love, like hopefully, as a husband currently in sales, as a leader. And so it's a character thing, right? It's like, if you're going to leave anything on the table, then, I think that's more than anything a reflection of your character. And that's not the character that I want to be.
Yep.
My follow-up question to that is for maybe someone who the closing and soft closing process on themselves takes longer than 2 summers like it did for you. My question is like, where do people go wrong as far as patience goes regarding the roadmap? Because like you said, I think everyone's roadmap is similar, but the timeline is way different.
Yeah. Yeah. You look at Corbin, he was just a lay down. Yeah. Right? He didn't have to soft close himself for 4 years, right? He just all of a sudden did back 60K.
His brothers did that for him.
Yeah. 100%
for years.
So the question is like, where do sometimes people make the mistake along the line with patience? Or?
Yeah, just talk to patience as a whole in regards to the roadmap. Like what would have happened if like you had like, by your standards, a slower start to this last summer? Like what would have happened if Brock wasn't patient with the roadmap and just like, you know what? It got a little bit harder. Like I'm not that anymore.
Yeah, 100%. I guess you can become impatient and, which is a bad thing when your perspective is wrong about just like the situation as a whole. So for example, right, like you're like, oh gosh, I want to sell 10 a day and I'm not doing it. So I set my goal too high and I suck and I'm just going to sell 150 accounts and try again next year. Right. Which, dude, I mean, how many people like set a goal, get started slower and then like quit. Right. So if you're impatient and you don't trust the process and, that's one aspect of like maybe an error that people make is, right, you think that you're supposed to start super fast. Another aspect of that, like just the other side is, you can be as patient to see the success and the goals and, really like finally get traction. You can be as patient, maybe patient isn't even the right word, but it can take as long as it can if you have the perspective of yourself, which is, I will figure it out. Like, I will figure it out. Yes or yes, right? It's like if I'm taking a test, one of those bubble tests where it's like A, B, C, or D, all answers there are, yes, I figured it out, right? There's not an option for like, I quit, right? Or there's not an option for, I'm not going to get this done. And so if you have like, part one, the proper perspective of, if you're impatient and you have this false expectation, then okay, cool. You're doing something wrong there on that side. And then the other side is you just have to be committed to the sacrifice of, I will figure this out. Yes or yes. It's going to happen. I'm going to do it. And right, like this last summer, I got off to a slower start, right? It's like the summer before that, my worst week was 35 accounts. And this week, my worst week was like, I think like 16 or 17. This year, was like 16 or 17. So it's like, but I never, right. There was never once like a moment where I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm not going to get a golden door this year. It was like, I'll figure it out, man. We'll see what happens. We'll figure it out. And, was able to go out and hit the goal. So
yeah. The point that I wanted to make, I think you spoke to it like perfectly. Patience. And in the same breath, it's not just being patient with yourself and being patient with letting the roadmap develop, but it's having the perspective as well.
Yeah.
It's just the reality. It's micro and it's macro. It's over the course of a summer. It's even over the course of a day. If you don't allow yourself the opportunity for your day and this plan and the strategy to unfold, well, then you've never even given yourself a chance to succeed or reach the goal that you set out for in the first place. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing for a summer. And it's the same thing over when people approach door to door as a whole. Oh, I thought I was going to have 100 guys and be a golden door winner by year 3. Well, dude, there's anomalies and there's exceptions to the rule, but we got to get real. That's not the rule.
No,
that's not the roadmap. That's a really accelerated timeline of the roadmap. But normally that takes people 5, 6, 7, 8. Most people don't even get their period.
Exactly.
Because they don't give the roadmap, the plan, what they signed up for, time to develop, and either they lose patience with themselves and give up the task entirely, or they end up pivoting and going to a different industry and forsaking it altogether. And so I just think what Brock does more than anybody is he has plans, he has goals.
Yep.
He has things that he will not budge on. And then regardless, I'm confident that if Brock for some reason didn't get it by sometime in August or early September, whatever it was, it's like I'm confident he would have been out there at Halloween with the trick-or-treaters. Like I just know like that's what that would have looked like because
giving discounts for Twix bars.
No, exactly right. And so anyways, I just think the idea of patience and perspective, you cannot overlook it in the process of doing anything great.
Yeah, and when you're talking about patience, it's not like, dude, you got to have patience, right? Because things don't always go to plan. But that being said, dude, like being patient doesn't mean being lazy, right? Being patient doesn't mean like, okay, like sold 650K, the reps are going to start like DMing me out of nowhere. You sold 1,000 accounts? Like my inbox is so full, like I don't have time to reach out to them. No, right? Like not at all. Yeah, you got to be patient with the process, but that doesn't mean that like you're not actively leveling up every single day from there on out too, because being patient and being lazy can sometimes be construed as the same thing.
Right. Yeah. I think the maybe a good way to articulate it is patience is created when you have perspective and also the input, right? Like meaning you're in like whatever your goal is your output, your input is right, your effort that you're putting in every day. So your perspective plus your effort will create unlimited patience.
Yeah.
And you'll get there.
Yeah, because it just gives you a much bigger mindset. So, okay, now this kind of goes towards leadership a little bit, Brocky, this next question. For someone, you've now been in the industry. This was your 5th year, so you're going on year 6, right? Management and leadership, though, it really only started to become a thing the last 3 years when you decided, like, well, what you said is like, okay, this is what I want. You made the decision, you took the jump. That being said, how has your idea of what a leader is now different from what it was when you first got into the industry?
Yeah, I don't know if I even had an opinion on what leadership was when I first got into the industry, right? It's like, to me, leaders were always like high level individuals, just, crushing it with whatever they're at, right? People look up to them. And so maybe what the evolution is you go from cool, you look at leaders and you look at like almost like their clout or like, oh, that's awesome. Like these guys are like high level, they're sick, they make a lot of money, people look up to them and you like it for that purpose. But then when like the evolution of leadership, at least for me right now that we, we have stewardship and a flock to take care of, right? It's like, that's the last thing that you care about is, how I look or XYZ. Like the only thing that you care about are your people, right? And you just want them to succeed, and you lose sleep over over Malachi, and you can't even like think about anything other than like, you know, Wyatt Perry, or it's like you just care about your people so much. And when you get to that point, right, it's like you become extremely intentional and you know how to motivate, right? It's not just like a blanket, you know, statement of, okay, dude, I'm going to buy you a pair of shoes and that's what's going to like make you increase your production. No, it's like, you know, the levers and pulleys because you love your people so much, you know them, you can, as Easton says, speak their language, right? It's like, I was talking with Orion about this the other day, who's going to just blow up this year. It's like when Orion, like I knew Orion so well in becoming right a leader, and it's like what I knew Orion, what would push Orion was he was a hard worker and he loved being a hard worker. And so when it's Saturday, I'm texting him and it's like, dude, it's just you and me tonight. It's the Wolves are out till midnight and I'll pick you up at 10. And maybe there were some other guys on the doors, but like, dude, Orion closed deals after dark almost every Saturday. And it was because, right, it's like of the love and the knowledge of like what pushed him. And so becoming a leader, right, and I've got so far to go with it for everybody. But anyways, but it's like you know your people, you love your people, and then at that point you know what levers and pulleys to pull to increase their production, not to increase their production, but to impact them positively. Yeah. You don't do it so that it's like, oh cool, now I can, dude, I want you to sell a lot so I can hit divisional, but it's like, dude, I want you to sell a lot because like I care about you. I know this is what's best for you. And so you learn the ways to motivate them based on that.
In closing, because this is what I want to wrap up with, and this is what I want to take like the next, 10, 15 minutes to go over. This summer, it's just from afar, it seemed like this was just a summer of like massive personal growth. And I feel like the Brock that went out was definitely not the Brock that came back. You can just tell when someone has, you know, really gone through it. Yeah. That like, wow, this person had to like level up. It's similar to like how I felt about Skyler when he came back from Portland. I was like, dude,
who is this guy?
This is not the guy that I've like grown up in the industry with. Like, this is a different animal entirely. And so I guess it's a two-pronged question. It's very clear that like you leveled up in such a huge way. From first, if you had to say the biggest lesson learned from a team perspective, and then the follow-up to that would be biggest lesson you learned this summer from like a personal selling mindset perspective.
Team perspective. And maybe it's the same answer for both, but it's, you know, you got to be willing to give just everything to run, I think, a successful team and give a good experience, right? Like, you know, 4 a.m. nights to do an area, like, and then getting up at, you get 5 or 6 recordings that you're going to listen to the next morning from rookies who are just they want to get a sell just so bad. And so like you're staying up late to make sure everything's dialed with all the, you know, weird things that you just didn't realize you have to do. And then you're getting up the next morning and it's just constantly on your mind. And so it's like, you just sacrifice comfort. You sacrifice just, dude, it's everything. Like literally you have to sacrifice everything. And, that's different for a lot of people, right? Some people, there's like real family things they have to like, you know, let go of, or events, or maybe it's sleep. You know, maybe it's just comfort of your body because like you're tired or XYZ. But yeah, from a, you know, to answer the first part, you know, from a team leadership perspective, it's, yeah, you just do everything for your people and you sell for your people and you know, you grind for your people, you sacrifice for your people. And, you know, most people who are going to be out leading teams, if they don't, right. If you're not willing to be up till 4 a.m. doing all the things, if you're not willing to do XYZ, if you're not willing to be the first one on the doors, if you're not willing to listen to the recordings, if you're not willing to do the one-on-ones, while also you're not willing to then take care of your wife, and you're not willing to make sure that, you know, you're having like fulfillment in your marriage or right, or your spirit or XYZ, then all of a sudden, right, if you're not doing that and that stops, then everything stops, right? It's like, what's going to happen? Just everything goes downhill. And now your reps are having a bad experience. And you see that in the industry all the time, where a leader isn't willing to sacrifice. And so who then at that point is the one who has to sacrifice? It's the reps, right? As soon as the leader stops carrying, well, now all of a sudden, now the reps pay for it, right? Either the leader pays or the rep pays. And what we believe here, and what I believe more strongly than anything, is that the leader pays, and there's nothing else to say about it. And then on the other side,
pause for 1 second though. That was just like, if you guys don't understand, like the guy that's like sitting at the table right now, like that was it, right? Like Brock loves his people, and like it comes across so powerfully. And it's like, that all being said, you just know if you're on Brock's team, dude, he come hell or high water, he's going to deliver. And if he doesn't, he sure as hell is going to almost die trying, right? It's like finding that in a leader is so important. I love that there are, like I said, sitting across the table with all of these guys that have been on the landing pad the last 8-10 weeks or whatever it's been. It's like, dude, these guys, it's so hard to find them, but for some reason, it's just like, dude, they just keep coming. It's like you, Caleb, Seeger, dude, everybody. But it's like, I just feel your passion coming across, that like you do what you do because, dude, you got to deliver the experience for your guys. And that, dude, the monetary, like we haven't talked about money for 1 second, because, dude, it's not about the money comes. If you do everything right, if you love your guys, you take care of your guys, they'll stick around. They'll make great money. You'll make great money, and that'll be all taken care of. But, dude, that stuff just doesn't matter. It's all about them knowing that you love them, that you're there for them, and that, like, you know, you're willing to do whatever you need to do for them.
Yeah. Before Brock answers the question on, because I'm sure everyone's giddy about hearing all the listeners exactly what lessons he learned from his second Golden Door summer, I'd say on the landing pad as a whole, I don't think I can recall times when we've talked in depth about any of our guests' earnings.
No.
And we've had guests, like a couple weeks ago, we have guests that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The point is, if you were to strip away all the sales talk and all the earnings talk, and you were to just go out and actually do everything that was taught and everything that was shared and the ideas that were brought forth on the landing pad, I promise you're going to have more money in your account than before you were doing all the things we talked about here.
100%.
That's a for sure thing. And so the point that I want to illustrate before Brock gets into this is, yes, we do this as a job. Yes, we do this as a career. Yes, we do this because it's like a way to provide the financial freedom that we want to have. But way, way, way more importantly and way more acutely, if you just do the things that we're talking about and do the things that the Brocks and the Calvins and the Calebs and the Seegers and the Drews and the Bennetts and all the people, if you do the things that all of them are doing, the earnings are inevitably, inextricably, like they are tied together. Yes. They are going to follow. So just before we get into this last nugget that Brock has, it's just a matter of, okay, well, if you want what Brock has, do what Brock does.
Yeah.
And it's not a matter of lip service, and it's not a matter of like turning a quick and cheap phrase. It's like, no, like Brock saw very firsthand what it was like to give everything to a team with Skylar in Portland. And it's exactly what he went and did in Chicago. And like the reps can attest to it. The numbers can attest to it. And the earnings can attest to it as well.
Yep.
So without further ado, the piece of advice or the nugget or the biggest lesson you learned personally selling this last summer, your second Golden Door.
So like there's one portion of it that is being coachable, being hungry, learning, right? Like the number of times I'm hitting up, you know, all the dogs like, hey dude, like, what are you saying? Send me your pitch, right? So you're constantly getting better. I think the most important aspect of that is, though, at the end of the day, well, yeah, you can use all those tips and tricks from everybody. Like, it's on you to figure it out. And there was a portion there where like I was so focused on the sales pitch. I think I sent Ben a text like, yeah, bro, we got to scrap the intro. Like, I got a better idea for the intro, right? And it's like, there was a point that I texted him that and it was dumb and it didn't work. But the point of that is I was overthinking it so much and I was so focused on what is this guy saying? What does this guy say? That the real aspects of the sales pitch just like left, which is, confidence, swagger, just like, I'm going to sign you up right now. Like that's really what sells, is when you knock on a door and you know that you're going to like sign them up, and that attitude comes when you get into like this flow state, right? When you're just not even thinking, you're just like, everything's out the door. Like, you don't know where you are. You don't know what time it is. You don't feel anything. And then all of a sudden it's 30 minutes past dark and you check the leaderboard and you're at 16, right? It's like, so I feel like my thoughts are kind of like unorganized. Let me try to pull it together, right? It's like, cool. Yeah. Be humble, get as much training as you can, be hungry. But then at that point, right, it's on you to figure it out. You just got to go and get it. And once you have that mindset of, cool, I'm going to figure it out. Yes or yes. Right. I don't care if you're in contract. I don't care if your uncle is the owner. Right. It's like, there was a day where I had Memorial Day, actually, right? Memorial Day is just a day that, right, you just have to rip on Memorial. It's not even an option.
It just happens.
It's not, reason. Yeah, it just happens, right? It's like you plug in on, you knock on Memorial Day and you're going to sell a lot. And so like, right, it's like all of the prep happened, knocked on Memorial Day. I'm like the fourth guy to hit this hood. And it's like, so everybody is in contract and it's with a company where they sell long contracts of 2, 3, 4 years plus. Mm-hmm. And the cancellation fee is 50% of the contract remaining. And I think I sold like 13 and like 11 of them were in contract switchovers. And it's like, it's not that, the reason that happened is I wasn't overthinking. I was just like, I just got in that mode of, cool, we're going to get this done. We're going to sell people. It's Memorial Day, man. It's not like I'm not going to sell. And that's a big difference, I think, between where I was maybe even like Portland year, where, I sold 1,007 accounts. Like I sold almost 400 accounts more in Portland. Like I just never left that state and right. Maybe got off to a rocky start. So I it was harder to like get into that like flow state and overthought things. And right. It's like, yeah, dude, this last year, was my first year, like leading a team, all the things. It's like, it was like bulking season, right? It was like, when you're bulking, you're not looking sexy, but you're putting on the muscle. And then when you cut, like it reveals like really like what you're capable of doing. And so like, I'm just really excited to go out this year, with all the growth that I feel like I've experienced and be able to deliver hopefully an A++ experience for all the people that we're going to bring out.
Well, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
Cutting season 2023 for Brock Grieve is going to be aggressive.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to see it. Brock, we're so lucky to work with you. We're so thankful to have you. We know you're extremely busy. Thanks for taking the time. Garth, any last words for the listeners at home?
It was said. It was all said.
Love y'all.
It really
been a privilege.
Oh. As for this episode of The Landing Pad, we out.